If there's one experience you're going to have while you're in Uzbekistan, it's the national dish of plov. And so the question for me is,
we need to find us a place where we can see how Tashkent plov is made from scratch.
oh man, look at that rich, authentic plov. I'm salivating just looking at it. So we were able to find a really cool guy, Azim. He runs this waterfront establishment and will be walking us through how plov is made. The interesting thing here is that all this meat you see going in, it's still got the twine attached to it. They're not going to cut it up at first, it's going to go right into the oil as is. The wok's getting really hot here and you can see all that vapor coming off it. There's a solemnity with plov in Uzbek culture that takes on a religious significance, which is why you see Azim performing a dua, an Islamic prayer, as the meat gets tossed in. Once the meat starts to get a nice bit of colour on it, all of the other ingredients start to go in. We go in with the onions, then they completely cover the bottom layer with roughly chopped carrots. Then there's some deglazing with the brine, and beyond this, individual taste comes into play. Our guys are going in with barberries, and turmeric. Chickpeas surprised me, I must say, and then there's my favourite ingredient of all, raisins.
Soğukça kaynaydı. Bir soğuk kaynagandan keyin guruch solamiz. Guruch solgandan keyin yana bir soat guruch parlatishga, ag'darishga vaqt ketadi. Keyin bir soat parlatganimizdan keyin bir soat dibulab qo'yamiz keyin.
At this stage of the cooking, we're keeping everything on a very high heat. No pressure, Azim, but in a couple of hours, this place is going to be packed with patrons. And because plov obviously isn't plov without the rice, this is the moment of truth.
Bo'z yopamiz. Bo'z yopgandan keyin ham qanisidan terisi guruchdan hamma yog'ini bir xilda parlatadi. Ochiq guruchlar yaxshi ketiladi. Xudo xolisa.
And now Azim tells us something interesting. For the rest of the cooking, on some sort of linear gradient, they're going to keep lowering the heat all the way until just before the end, they get it down to a simmer. This is the most technical part of the preparation, I thought. Azim is almost surgical in the way he mixes the ingredients after the first unveiling of the cotton sheet. Now that he's satisfied, he puts it right back. Guys, I wanted to make sure that some of the really important things about plov that may not be coming through on the video are at least made plain for you guys so that you can get a better understanding of this very integral part of Uzbek culture. And the first thing to stress is that
every different part of Uzbekistan has its own plov. These are tiny variations. Sometimes it's about ingredients, sometimes it's about the method of cooking, and they're fiercely competitive with one another. So what we're seeing here today is Tashkent plov, but 2 days ago what we had was plov more common from the region of Samarkand. So you think about the different cities of Uzbekistan, do remember that they each have their own kind of plov. And the second thing I wanted to highlight is that there's also a different kind of plov based on function. And it's a must, it's a staple at things like birth ceremonies, at wedding ceremonies, and at funerals. In fact, our host was making a joke that plov follows you throughout your life, from the cradle to the grave. Something else I wanted to point out, and this was because we were amazed at just how much heat was coming off of the gas cookers, but in the Soviet times, this was actually done in the ground. Now this could have been because there was a concern about the availability of resources, but I thought that was interesting that they see this as an older way of cooking it, and that, you know, with the gas, they've moved on to the modern way. The way that the cooking methods have changed over the years, but have stayed constant in some regions, is exciting. The chef was making clear here that making plov, it's tough work.
There's a workout at almost every stage. Now this is the final stage of the plov preparation. If you'll remember, this cotton sheet, which keeps the rice steaming and the ingredients distributed evenly, was taken off twice before. And on each time, the chef comes and mixes the rice, and it's sort of an arduous task. Once this sheet is taken off for the third time, that's it. It's the final time, and it becomes the hour of plov. So the time right now is just about 11 o'clock, which is an indication that they've been cooking here for the last 3.5 hours. You will see we've got some quail eggs and the slices of horse meat. It's a specific cut of horse meat, and I think it's called kaza. And as we go, you'll notice that the arena right now is fully set for lunch. The hour of plov, which I'll explain in a bit, is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we've got some of the early comers who are eager to dig in to this dish of plov, which is one of the national treasures of Uzbekistan. Gentlemen, ladies, prepare yourselves for the final unveiling. The hour of plov is at hand. Now, what we mean by this hour of plov, is that this ceremonial dish is only served and consumed during lunchtime. Leftovers are not carried beyond the mealtime. Once the hour of plov is over, it's all over. One thing I did want to say to you guys is, as you look at that pool of liquid in the wok, it's actually a mixture of the oil and the water in which this is all cooked. And you can see the chef is really carefully distributing that on every plate. So it's not like a drizzle, it's just making sure that a tiny bit of that goes onto the plate. It's packed with flavour and just give it a nice bit of fluidity. So, how does one eat plov? First of all, with a spoon. So this is my dish of plov, and you can see all of the meat cuts on top of it, and it customarily comes with at least one side salad, and I've requested mine to come with tomatoes. And this is the traditional bread you would have heard me talk about when we came here to discuss the logistics. This is a very, very Uzbek thing. Bread is highly valued in Central Asia, and so we're going to be tearing off chunks of the bread, eating the salad simultaneously with the rice. And actually this is exactly how you do it. Wow, those raisins, they really hit the spot. Our little plov expose has come to an end. All of the hard work that the chef and his team have been doing is now finally being enjoyed by all of the patrons here. So it's the height of the hour of plov. Everyone's come for lunchtime, and this is typically the time that the chef's work here is done. If you guys want to check out plov in Tashkent, definitely come here. It's called Mino Osh, and if you see the chef, his name is Azim, tell him I sent you.